in the audience uses VSCO to edit photos. And we actually share them in a community in the app. That's a bit less. Joe, you started the community in 2012 when VSCO launched. You were a professional photographer. What made you use the VSCO as a community?
As a photographer, my co-founder, Greg, who's also an art director and designer, there was kind of this feeling that we always had that people were selling us products, selling us services, but never understood us as a creative. And so there's really this desire to create something where not only did we create world-class tools, but we created a community around it in which we felt that we were a part of. And it was very important that, unlike others that had gone before us, that we remain very active and participatory within that community.
Yeah, because the community is really about expressing yourself. Do you think that it's important in these days for a brand or in a community to add that as a value for a company?
Yeah, I think when you take a look at a lot of different platforms and ecosystems out there, one thing I think that you tend to find that's lacking is people aren't going to that platform to understand what that platform's voice is. I don't go to Twitter to understand what Twitter thinks, what value they put on it, what they're seeing within the world, and how they're elevating content within their ecosystem. And so that's something that's very important to us, and we do that with two main ways within VSCO. So we have a series of human curators that are looking through all the content coming through the platform, creating a series of collections, kind of all over the place, different things, everything from kind of newsworthy elements and political races to high schoolers taking animated GIFs within school, a collection called Hall Pass. And on top of that, we also have what we call the VSCO Originals. And this is a series of 10 editorial titles that we have with a series of staff that are creating original content. There's a great one right now. All Kinds of Human is doing a story on Syrian refugees and taking a look and following a family and kind of their migratory journey out of Syria. And so a lot of great content, and we feel that we can always continue to really be an active member within the community and giving something for people to be inspired by.
Do you think that's a criteria for every community, that it has to add value in that kind of way?
I think what we're going to start seeing is so many platforms build up with providing this great free service or tool. And then when you get a critical mass, start to really introduce ads to some perspective where it's like, we've given you something that you're not going to leave. We'll make it just bearable that you stick with it. And now our business model starts to work. And so I think what you're going to start to see in something that we've really tried to think ahead of is how do you create something where there's not that mass exodus? How do you create the next kind of social network? Rethinking the way that people are going to want to connect and engage with each other in a meaningful way. And I think a vibrant community around that is something that people want to be known. And it's something that might not just be their social group, their close friends, but it might be around a certain subject matter or kind of inspiration or region. And we really want to look at finding a way of providing that.
And did you really start with all the content? You already thought through, this is where we go with the content we publish from the brand name itself? Or is it just something that grew, like this is the direction we go in? Are you always content with the VSCO content?
Yeah, so the VSCO content was, we launched the company really November of 2011. And the first thing that we decided to do, instead of taking out ads or, not going to conferences or anything of that nature, was to create an online journal where we showcase the work of the community. And that really grew, and we grew a large following of millions of people reading that content. And then what we quickly realized is that there was a lot of these great individuals, companies, really trying to find a way to express themselves but didn't have the means necessary. And so we started to partner with them to help fund either a book to be made of their work or to pay, for their processing of their tintypes because, it was too expensive for them. And out of that was born the Artist Initiative, which is one of our VSCO Originals. And it's a grant that we have that's really there to come alongside and empower people that might not have the means and to really help give them that extra nudge.
Cool, really cool. Sorry, I'm stuck. what would you advise if you want to start a community as a company now? What is the most important thing? Because it's pretty hard. How do you get them engaged and active?
Yeah, well, getting them engaged and kind of advice are two different things. But I think really at the core of it, you have to do something you believe in. People, when we were starting out, and we didn't raise any capital for 2.5 years into the company, but anytime that we'd ever talk to an investor, they'd be like, yeah, but the creative community is fickle. Like, you can't build a business off of that. And we'd always say that the design community, the creative community is not fickle. They just smell BS from a mile away. And so the moment something becomes inauthentic and the moment it has a different agenda that's hidden, they're gone. And so I think the biggest piece of advice that I would have in really building a community is doing something you believe in, something that Greg, co-founder, always says the best business decisions don't always involve business. And there's a lot of things that we do at VSCO that some might look at us and say, but you could have done this. And it's like, but that wouldn't have been right for the community. And there's things, for example, in the launch of what was VSCO Grid and now just VSCO, we didn't want likes or comments. This was something that, as a part of the community, initially it was like if I walked into a museum, I'm not going to go put a heart sticker or write LOL love on the bottom. But instead I'm going to enjoy it. I'm going to start to follow that person's work. And so that was something that was really born out of that, to remove that pressure to kind of see that instant validation that, for so many people, I think when they post to social media, it's like, how fast do I get a response from people? And so we wanted to create something void of that. And we're seeing this mass exodus, really, people are burnt out. And so we've seen this huge growth within VSCO because as a platform, people create and share just because it's how they want to express themselves, not because am I going to get X number of likes within 5 minutes and my nose is going to judge my popularity.
Community management often is a part of a marketing budget if you don't really earn money from it. So why would you put so much effort all the time in creating a big community?
Yeah, I think something that we've looked at from the very beginning with VSCO was not what's the best for today, but if we want to build a sustainable brand, something that really lasts, what are all the pieces that is needed? And so it's never been about one feature or one kind of offering within VSCO. It's kind of this entire series of everything from capture, edit, sharing, discovering new content, and now even printing physical goods, really getting things off your device and into your hand. And I think something that really holds all that together and really surrounds it is the community. And that is something that is the greatest value to VSCO, is the people within the community.
How important is cross-media? How important is it to have offline and online contact?
Yeah, I think there are many ways that one would engage with the community, and so I think taking advantage of all of those are very important. We do a lot of offline events, as well as we were just running a series of what we're calling creative sessions with Apple's new pilot store in San Francisco, bringing education and other creatives and bringing them in an education resource through also one of our VSCO originals, which is called VSCO Academy. And so I think all of that is so important. Social media is something. I ran our social media for the first year, so if really in 2012 you ever received a support ticket or a tweet or a response on Facebook, that was me. And we still actually have kind of support in social, what we call Wednesdays, in which everyone in the company has to rotate through it, because I think really understanding how your community is engaging with your products, their pain points, it's extremely important. And so it's something that we really value.
Yeah. How important is it for brands to also have a personality like you and Gray? You really represent yourself as VSCO founders, but also use social from a personal point of view.
Yeah,
Do you think that helps the brand?
Yeah, I mean, very early on, we used to say that we are phantoms. You would actually never find out who worked at VSCO. We wouldn't update LinkedIn. I remember we went to a meeting at Facebook once, and they're like, so you guys about like 100 people? And I was like, yeah. And we were only 10 people at the time. And no one really knew. And it never really was about us individually. But everything about VSCO is really from the heart. And it's not just Greg or myself. It's really all the pieces. And that's really the beauty, is the diversity of our team's grown We're now over 130 employees. Everyone adds something to that. And I think that's why you've seen VSCO really push forward in a lot of what we're doing, is that we're really taking, and I tell everyone as they come in, like, your job is to make this place better. Bring a part of yourself, your passion, both to our product, to the community, and internally to the company.
Isn't it hard, because everyone is constantly focused on their phones and always connected? You guys are really focusing on creativity as well. How do you stimulate people to not be on the screen all the time, but still create and share their content?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of ways around that, but I do really, encourage people to get off their device and kind of get out and experience life, because that's really where that creativity comes from. I think there's certain ways that we've built our platform that are not kind of this like, dope, like that you have to keep checking every few seconds. Like, it's something where you go out, you create, you might have some time, it might be in the morning, it might be in the afternoon. It's not something that every second you're feeling like you need to check. And so that's definitely something that's really important to us. And I think I'd really encourage the community to kind of get out there and express themselves.
How important is it to be online and connected with the community 24/7? Because you're worldwide, you're very popular in Asia.
Yeah, it's a real big challenge, I would say. So VSCO's approximately 80% outside of the U.S. Comprises the community. And so this is something that we're dealing with. Just last year was the first time that we ever localized the app, and it's now available in 19 different languages, which was something really important for us. Which was actually one of the early things that we realized how global our community was. And that's why it was so icon-driven. There was no text to really localize, and you just had to remember what an icon was, and therefore it didn't matter if we labeled it the right way or wrong way. You'd kind of figure it out. But it's definitely something that's really important. We do try and hire a lot of people that are engaging on the social media side and support side from different kind of diverse backgrounds, so that they can kind of bring that. And really working to try and get out on the ground. So after here, I'm headed out to Hong Kong, and we do a series of trips. Different people within the company are kind of always going around the world and engaging with the community on the ground and really listening to what's important to them.
That is a smart way.
Yeah.
Do you get recognized, and do people really see your photographs as well as VSCO?
New York's probably the only place, especially not in San Francisco. In the tech world, we're really unknown. They're kind of like, oh, and it's like, yeah, we've, raised this money, and, oh, we have, well north of 30 million active users, and wait, what? But anywhere outside of the Bay Area and kind of the Silicon Valley, like, tech bubble, we're extremely well known. Although I wouldn't say, like, myself personally, if you happen to be wearing a shirt, or there was one time we're on vacation and asked someone to take a photo, and they're like, and I just flipped open the native camera, and they're like, you really should use VSCO. I was like, oh, thanks. So, yeah.
Great. What would you say if you start a community right now and you don't have any base personality or brand yet? How do you put yourself there? How do you put yourself out there and find the people?
Yeah, the biggest piece of advice is you have to do something you believe in. I think in starting a business, everyone wants to highlight, and I actually loved the talk before, really joking around that, but everyone wants to highlight kind of all the beauty of it, but it's really tough. There's a lot of really difficult days things don't go the way you were planning, and it has to be something you believe in. I think anyone that goes out there, like, before I started VSCO, I had like 5 different business ideas that we were thinking of doing, a group of friends of us. It was like, oh, this one will make us more money. This one's like a guaranteed success. And we landed with VSCO because it's like, when stuff gets difficult, this is what we want to wake up and do. Like, this is who we are. We don't have to, wonder what it's like to kind of get in the head. And so of our user, we are our users. We are our community. And so I think for anyone going out to start something, first and foremost, it has to be something you're passionate about. Because if not, like, you're really going to lead something down and it's going to lack that, and you're just going to be looking for an exit.
Smart. You are not doing major big app updates, but smaller ones throughout the days, even weeks. Is that a specific reason of staying in touch with the community for more?
Yeah, there's a lot of reasons around that. One is that we really suffered from kind of that, like, go dark and release something like every 10 months, and it was a major feature. And there's all these technical problems. So really, we're actually on 2-week release trains. So everything that we're shipping every 2 weeks, you're seeing an update, both on iOS, Android. Web, you're actually seeing things a lot more frequent from that end because it's a lot easier. But it also allows things. So we built a lot of ways within the app that we can roll out features based upon geolocation. So we had a new feature, suggested users, that had launched, and we rolled it out in like a test group of the UK. And in 10 minutes, growth for over our largest day ever just skyrocketed. We're like, oh my gosh, we actually can't put this feature front and center. We're going to have to handle this in a more gradual rollout, refactor a few things. So there's a lot of benefit from that, but it also allows us to really listen to the community, test something out there, see how it engages. Is this, we really talk about the difference between data-driven and data-informed. And so really looking at the latter, and at VSCO, we're really, not so much, I never really think like data is going to drive innovation. It really lies in kind of an optimization of maybe improving something. But I do think there's a lot of value in finding out where people get stuck. You'll start to see a lot more from us kind of on the design side, UI, UX changes that we're really excited about. And a lot of that's from learning how our community is engaging and more or less where they're struggling with the app in areas. So,
where do you think the future of companies with brands and communities go in general?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I think, we're seeing where I was talking to someone yesterday and they were saying that advertising was dead. And I said, well, there's fewer companies that are getting more of a lion's share of that revenue. And I think, it's the same thing with app downloads. It's something that we're very fortunate and a very strong kind of word of mouth that we're not really struggling on the user acquisition side of things. But people are always asking, like, how do you get your app found in the App Store? And it really drives them building a great product. But I think today it's even more difficult. I can't imagine starting today on that end. And so I think from that end, it's really finding a community, solving a problem, ensuring that you're getting your product out into the hands of the people that have that problem, and it will really help drive that.
Great, thank you. I think Casey Neistat's community is quite big as well, and many of you would like to visit that one too. Any questions for Joel from the audience? Well.
Hi. One of your products is film emulation with
Yep.
Lightroom. It's something that I use quite a lot. I just wondered if you were doing anything to develop that further and what that would look like.
Yeah. So the question, VSCO Film was our first product that we launched with November 2011, born out of emulating what I wanted, started in film in my professional career as a photographer. It's now 15 years ago. And so it's definitely something that we're really looking at further advancing. There's been about 2 iterations of that, and you'll start to see a lot more from us in that. I think, though, there's a generation that, if I say, oh, do you like Portrait 800 or 400, it's a foreign language to them. So it's also trying to, how do we bring that understanding, those looks, that appreciation to a wide community. So,
Great,
yeah.
Thanks. Just a small summarize, if you want to start a community, passion is key.
Yes.
And share only the content that you are really representing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And engage with your audience, right?
Yep.
Great.
And I'll be outside, so if anyone has any further questions, feel free to grab me. So, thank you very much.